Alright guys, and welcome to another Get It Painted episode for Troll Trader and TTCombat, where we're going to show you how to paint these miniatures using Games Workshop models. We're painting an Ork Warboss, but we're going to be using TTCombat paints. They're an upcoming series that will be coming to you guys soon. We're looking to be launching a Kickstarter in October. And yeah, we're going to show you how to use those paints on various different miniatures. We're going to start off with some 40k models, and then we're going to move on to some different things. We're going to be all over the place. We're going to be trying different games. It's not just going to be Games Workshop. It's going to be Corvus Belli's Infinity. We're going to do some weird Malifaux stuff. We're going to be doing as much as we possibly can using our paints to kind of show you what they are capable of. We are on episode 3 currently. I have painted on, we did an episode last week where I painted a Necron Chronomancer. That was really fun. We managed to get that done in 2.5 hours. I believe that video is already on YouTube, which I should say you'll be able to find all of these videos. You'll be able to find all of them on YouTube as and when they've been edited and uploaded. I'm doing black. I'm doing a black paint job on this guy to kind of get a nice dark grimy look on him. Glowing Cloth, oi oi, welcome to the stream. Those of you that are watching on YouTube, you should check out the live stream. You can interact with us painters. It's very interactive. Like, we like to have a bit of a chat with our audience. Obviously that's not something you get to do on YouTube. And those of you that are on Twitch and you want to watch this back because you've got to go and do something, quite often we get interrupted in our day-to-day business. Rest assured that you can go and find the kind of the nitty-grittiness of the stream. We kind of take all the good bits, so to speak, and we turn those into videos that you can watch on YouTube. So there's a bit of something for everyone. So we're just going to load up our TTCombat Showcase base coat brush with this black speck to paint, and we're just going to apply it straight onto any of the armor panels that I want to be black. I should mention that I have primed this model using TTCombat's what's the paint called? I've primed it using Templar Armor, our primer cans, just kind of giving me a metallic undercoat, which means that a lot of these kind of mechanical gubbins are kind of pre-painted effectively. I've only really got to wash them and then highlight them, and you can call it done. As you can see in the bottom right of the screen, I am using a wet palette. This does mean that I don't necessarily need to water my paints down as much because the palette itself is actually wet. So it's kind of, it's pre-thinned, so to speak. And I can tell you, with the current weather that we've been having, this heat wave, this wet palette has been an absolute lifesaver. I'm also being very, very slap happy with this paint. It doesn't matter too much if I get it on areas that I don't want it. Simply because the paint coverage is so good that any mistakes are easily rectified. If I get black on something that's going to be red, it doesn't seem to matter too much because the red covers so well. So I can kind of paint back over whatever color it's meant to be. It's really easy to fix mistakes, is what I'm trying to say in lots of words. We'll kind of do the housing around his head, and then we'll probably call that it for the black. At least on his armor, we've got to deal with this. Is it a grot? I think it's a grot. growing up through painting, I've very much lent more towards things like orcs and goblins. They're just so much more forgiving on your paint jobs. You can be a bit more slap happy with them because, you know, the orcs would be very slap happy with their paint, so you can kind of get away with it. Okay, let's continue with our black. We're nearly done. It's just the grot now. So we're carrying on with Black Spectre and just kind of hitting the very last areas that we want painted black, what we think we would have. If we were orcs, the bits that we would have painted, got to get into the mindset of whatever it is that you're painting. That was awful advice. Do not get into the mindset of whatever it is you're painting, especially if it's in the 40k universe. There is only war. Make sure when you're doing these kind of base coats that you are constantly turning the model, because you might think you've painted a panel. For example, this one here, you might feel like you painted it, and then when you turn it upside down, you've missed a bar. I mean, I haven't here, but if I turn it and look on top, there's a part here that I haven't. You've got to keep turning your model. What a mean looking weapon this is. This would be absolutely terrifying, as if the orc itself isn't scary enough. And the fact that he's got a little mate on top with what looks to be some sort of 50 cal machine gun. This guy also has circular saws on the end of his axe. We have already primed this model with Templar armor, which gives us our metallic base. Now, I want to break up all these metallics because at the minute they're very flat, they're all the same color. I'm going to try and break them up using another metallic paint. So we're going to be using TTCombat's gunmetal, and we're going to apply that to various different kind of metallic panels on this model, whether it be a piston or a piece of armor. We're going to paint it using this, which is slightly darker. And we're gonna use a few different metallics to break up this model before we decide to give it a wash. So this different metallic is only very subtle, but trust me when I say that it's worthwhile because it's going to break up different tones on this model. I have to say, I really want this model. I don't think I have it. I did buy at Christmas time the Orcs kind of big army battle box thing, but I don't think it had this guy in it. I love the overall vibrancy of all of these paints. Obviously that's not being displayed in its best currently because I'm doing a goth orc. But I've got plenty of brightly coloured miniatures lined up. Right, so we've got some tin gubbins. Much the same as we did before, we're just going to pick out areas that look like they'd be metallic, and then we're going to add this colour, just kind of, again, break it up. So the tin gubbins is going to give us a nice metallic brown. It's a dark one, but we can add more metallics. Next up is going to be heat sink bronze, and I will be very sparing with this one because it's so bright. I don't want it to be too stark. I'm going to save that for the green skin. simply because something this big and this detailed could take tens and tens of hours. It could take such a long time to paint this one. So to have gone to this stage in such a short period of time is just a testament to the paint and its coverage and its vibrancy. Because we're almost ready to wash the metallics at least. And I mean, I know at the minute it doesn't look that done, but I can assure you it's not far off, really, because in terms of the color, we've got to do the green. That's going to really bring the paint job forwards. But I'm trying to nail the metallics first. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the heatsink bronze and I'm going to highlight the edges. And really, I ought to swap to a smaller brush for this, but I kind of want to show the versatility of this TTCombat brush. The base coat brush is just so good. I'm able to do highlights with it as well as base coat, and I do think that that's pretty crazy. I can do it effectively as well. It's not like I'm doing it and it looks super sloppy. Just catching the raised areas of these what's the name of those? Is it heatsink? Those kind of mesh areas around an exhaust pipe. Sure, it's a heatsink, something like those. I'm just hitting the raised area of those with this heatsink bronze. It's just kind of a much brighter metallic than the tin gubbins, and it will just help to add some depth to that area. What we're going to do now is that we've got some cables and things at the back here. And I kind of want to hit those before we do a black wash, because I want those to look oily as well. So if we think ahead, we are going to want to hit those with the different colors I want those cables and things to be. So I want some blues, some reds, probably some yellows as well. And we'll get those cables painted. I'm going to move over to the Showcase Fine Detail brush by TTCombat for that, so that we can have a little bit more... it's not even control, but I can get into these tighter spaces a lot easier. So to start with, we are going to use a Viscera Red. Honestly, look at how gorgeous that red is. Look how beautiful and how easily that's gone on. It's so vibrant. As I said earlier in the stream, keep the model moving. Not even just for kind of making sure you see all the different areas, but if you're going to pick an angle and just paint the entire, like for this tube for example, I'm going to paint this entire tube from one angle, I'm going to get red on parts that I don't want, because it's a difficult area to reach. So paint a section nice and comfortably, then move it, paint another section like the bottom here. Keep the model moving. Okay, I think I've got all the cables red that I want to be red. So let's move on to blue cables. And to paint the cables blue for the Ork, we're going to use TTCombat's Poster Boy Blue. So we've got these really vibrant red and blue tubes now, which kind of break up the kind of darkness of this model quite a bit, just in that small area at least. But there are some adjacent tubes that look like they'd be made out of rubber and things, so I kind of want to get some greys in there. I'm sorry, I know this is predominantly very black and very kind of grey silvery, but unfortunately it's a dirty old Ork. Now, what did I just say just a minute ago? I said I wanted to paint the rubbery bits. So for that, let's go with Admiralty Grey. I hope I'm saying that right. Nice. Right, okay, so there's another tube next to this one. I don't know if you can see it on the camera. So we've got red, blue, got another tube, and then there's another one here that's kind of ribbed. I want that to be grey, but I want it to be slightly darker. So what I'm going to do is add the very, very smallest amount of Black Spectre. And I'm going to add that to the Admiralty Grey that I've just used. Slightly darker tube. I think we're about ready to add a black wash to this, and then while we're waiting for the black wash to dry, we can tackle the skin. So we'll jump straight into that. Shmoo says the slight touches of red and blue are great. Thanks, man. Yeah, it just helps to kind of break up the model slightly. At the minute, again, it's very, very kind of black and white. All of that's going to change once we start doing the highlights, and obviously when we get the nice green skin in there. We've got this grot on top as well. There's plenty of stuff to break up this model. There's no shortage of it. I kind of just need to get it done. Dirty, grimy models, you don't need to be super precise. You can be. You absolutely can be. But you don't need to be super precise with where you apply your washes. You know, with other chapters or factions or whatever, I might be very selective about where I apply this wash and try and push it, pin wash it, or push it into very specific areas. But with a big dirty orc like this, I'm just not that fussed. Just want to get it everywhere. This is going to be one of two washes. We're going to do a black wash to start with, and then I'm probably going to thin resistance rust right down so that it's almost a glaze, and then I'm going to apply that to the model as well. Here we go. Forest Soul, and we're going to use that to base coat our skin. I'm going to stay with the TTCombat Showcase Fine Detail brush for this, just because I know that I've got to get in a lot of nooks and crannies and things, and I don't want a longer brush just for the sake of it. Now, normally I would do a much darker green skin, but the model itself is quite dark already, and I really want the skin to pop right out of this model so that it doesn't look super drab and super dull. Right, and let's do the grot as well. Okay, we're almost done with the green skin, and then we can move on to the wash. Now, I think I said earlier that I was going to do a dark green wash. That's not the case, actually. I have a much better wash where green skins are concerned, and that is purple. Purple kind of makes the skin look more alive, and adds a lot more interest than just using a dark green. You can be forgiven for thinking that, like, you know, when you're washing a miniature or a color, that you just want to wash it a darker version of what it already is, and that's not always the case. In fact, most of the time it isn't. You'll get a much more interesting finish if you use a contrasting color for the wash. Ah, perfect. So yeah, we're just going to add this lilac. Sorry, just to confirm, it is Gamora lilac. We're going to apply this as like a wash, all of the green skin area, and then what we'll do is we'll just highlight it back up again with the forest soul. So I'm just applying this forest soul to any areas that are kind of slightly raised. I'm only leaving the kind of purple wash in the most kind of like recesses, the deepest areas. Going back and doing this step where I'm reapplying that forest soul just kind of tidies it up again. Doesn't look like I've just kind of slapped a load of purple paint on there and it looks, you know, really, really nasty. Going back in with the green helps kind of tidy it back up and makes that wash look more purposeful, like it had a purpose in the first place. I think I'm happy with where we're at with that green. So we can put forest soul to one side, and then we can move on to, what was the other one I pulled out? It was Ogre Bogey, although that seems like quite a jump. We'll try Colonial Green. Right, so we're going to do much the same we did in the step before. We're just going to do less of it, so we're going to be a bit more picky about where we put this. Yeah, definitely getting there. Definitely looks greener and angrier. Kind of just got to be persistent. At the minute, I'm kind of looking at it, I think, he doesn't quite look right on his face. So I'm just going to keep adding highlights, adding more and more until I get to a point where I'm happy with how he looks. It is very, very, like, difficult in terms of you don't want to go too far. So it is little bits at a time. And just kind of see what you think. Do a little bit, take a step back and have a look. If you're still not happy with it, just add a little bit more and work those highlights up. I am taking a little bit more time and slowing down with the skin. With the armor, you would have noticed that I was moving quite fast and getting it done really quickly. But with a green skin, getting the green right is the most important thing in terms of you having an awesome paint job at the end. I don't need to pay quite as much attention to the grot as I do the orc. The orc is very much the focal point of this model, and that's what we're about, is making sure that the bits that our eyes are properly drawn to get the love and attention they deserve. And that's not to say that you should just ignore the grot, he just doesn't need quite the same level. Okay, right. Now we can go to our Ogre Bogey and use that straight out of the bottle and use that as a highlight. Before, it was way too much of a jump. We're going from a relatively dark green skin color and going on with like a really vibrant, and it was way too stark. So we've thrown in a mid-tone, now we can use it and it'll look much better. Super sparing on this one now. Basically add it to like the tips of details, like his cheekbones here, top of his eyebrow. Add it to his lips. But again, yeah, we're just picking out areas that they get this most extreme highlight. Right, there we go. Now we're done with the green. So it's time to paint his nasty teeth. We've got nasty teeth and any kind of leather straps, which you're going to want to do brown. I'm going to do that. We're going to do his teeth. Now we will go with matte brown. Just going to get this loincloth. Oh, really? Honey's not looking very well. Now we can move on and highlight the teeth, which we're going to do with, what we're going to do with crypt bone. Get these teeth looking a little cleaner. Just because he's an orc doesn't mean that he doesn't have to have pearly whites. So I'm taking the crypt bone. I've got a really pointy brush, to be specific, because I've not mentioned it for a while. I'm using the Showcase Fine Detail brush from TTCombat, and I'm just doing little ticks, working my way up to the point of his teeth. So kind of this motion. You can see the lines that I'm able to create are incredibly thin. I don't even know if the camera's picking them up. Yeah. So I can do thick lines, obviously, but I can do thin ones as well. It's always worth, before you go and do something as a super fine detail like this, put the paint on your brush and try it on your nail. You can wipe it off again. It doesn't have to stay there. I quite often walk around with a painted thumbnail because my nail is very much my palette when I'm painting. It kind of helps me gauge the control of the paint and the flow. And yeah, it's a good tip. So what I do for my eyes is a dark brown first. In this case, I'm going to be using burnt toast. I am stopping myself from shaking this. You guys weren't here earlier, but I have a problem, or at least I did in my last video, where I'm talking to the camera and also doing this, and then my voice is shaking up and down, and it sounds a little silly. So I've told myself that I'm going to stop, I'm going to talk, and I'm going to explain what I'm going to do, and then I'll shake the paint. So yeah, we're using TTCombat's Burnt Toast, a very, very, very small amount. This is going to be delicate work. And I'm going to get my fine detail brush. So yeah, just going to do the eyes on this grot and the orc. A dark brown. Start with. We'll give that a little moment to dry. And in the meantime, I'm going to highlight the leather straps on this. Right, we've highlighted the kind of haft of the axe. Now we can do the white of the eyes. So I'm going to go back to my crypt bone and I'm going to paint the eyes of this orc. Whenever I'm doing the eyes, I take a super fine detail brush and I always tackle the eye from the side. So if this was my eye here, for example, this little brown splodge, rather than just sitting there and stabbing at it, which is just not going to work, it really isn't, I come at it from the side and I'll just draw a line like this. Oh, helps if the paint is still wet. So yeah, sorry, if this is my eye, this is the brown section that I was showing you just a second ago, and I'm just going to bring my paintbrush across. And that is how I would do my eye, leaving brown around the outside and just kind of like a small white stripe. Obviously on a very, very small scale, this is much bigger and much more, much easier to achieve. But just take your time. The eyes are one of those things where if you nail it, the model looks a million times better. It's well worth taking your time to get right. So yeah, just kind of take your time with it and work on it. Use thin paints so that you don't end up with a huge thick splodge if you've got to kind of rework the area. I'm then going to go back to the eye with the brown. Just draw a line. Perfect. Happy with that. Okay. Now, to kind of finish this model off, I need to highlight. Bits. Let me get my edge straight. I need to kind of put some white bits onto this model because the goth is not just it's not just black. It tends to be black and white. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply phantom ivory. So all the areas that I want to be white. To a few different areas, not a crazy amount, just enough to break up the model a little bit. Right, I think we're at the point now where I can start adding like chips and dashes and things to the metal. So I'm going to start doing that now. I've got a supernova chrome, which I'm going to use for that. See if we can't make this guy look like he's been in some fights. To achieve what I'm doing here, I'm doing an edge highlight. So I've got an edge highlight along the top of this piece of armor. So I'm going to draw a line down the side using the side of my brush and just bring it across. And that'll give me this really, really nice crisp line that you see there. And then what I can do there to make it look more chipped is just do nice dashes. Well, that's it, guys. I'm going to call that done. I'm going to base it and everything else off camera. I'm going to add a little bit of blood, gore, and gore effects onto the axe. But I am very, very happy with what we've achieved here. It's taken 3 hours and 45 minutes, almost exactly. I know some people don't like those kind of scenes, but guys, thank you very much for swinging by. Please don't be a stranger. Come and check us out again. We always love having you guys here as an audience. It's been brilliant. I'm very, very happy with how things are going. Mark will be here tomorrow. He is doing Chaos. I'm not entirely sure what Chaos he's doing, but please do check back. He'll be back the same time tomorrow as I was. So it's 8:30 in the morning until completion.